J.K. Dobbins moving to the Ravens, running back. Well, I think it's going to be an interesting start already for our conversation anyway, considering that J.K. Dobbins has already come out saying he's happy to learn from the others. You've got, Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards, and Justice Hill on the roster from last year, still there. So where exactly does he fit in?
I think that's him being quite polite, if I'm honest. I think he's fully aware that he's going to have that, I wouldn't say starting job, but I think he's fully aware he's going to be featuring in the plans from day one. I've got him. This for me is reasonably similar to the Jonathan Taylor situation. I think game one, rep one, I think... I can't remember the last time I watched an NFL game and a team's first play of the game wasn't a running play. And I think we'll see Mark Ingram take that first run. But I think it's going to be 50-50 for at least the first handful of games. And much like Jonathan Taylor, I can just see JK just kind of sliding in and just slowly take over by the end of the year.
Well, I've got an interesting spanner to throw at you here. So Ingram was the second furthest rushing yards on the team with just over 1,000 yards and 200 carries. Edwards was on only 700 yards and 133 carries. I mean, that's not great there. And Hill, 225 yards for 58 carries. But I think the spanner is Lamar Jackson, who was obviously the main running back with 176 for 1,200 yards.
And that's the other thing.
If the quarterback doesn't give you the ball, how are you meant to do anything?
I think they're going to try and step back Jackson's running this year again, because I think from when he took over for those last 6 games, they took a step back last year from the amount he was running, and I think this year they're going to try it again, because at the end of the day, they probably want him to be their franchise quarterback, and if you're a quarterback and you're running, you're one hit away from being done.
Yeah.
It's not like a running back, we've said before, where if a running back gets an injury, there's a very clear path for his backup to step in and take the reins. Not quite so simple with the quarterback, is it?
Yeah, in the red zone, you're not going to pound a quarterback in, are you? You're going to have your grinder in J.K. Dobbins or Ingram. And I think you'll end up with maybe a 1-2-3 punch in Dobbins, Ingram, and Jackson. And from a PPR and standard fantasy, that's the issue for Dobbins. He's sharing carries. It'll be in a committee, always with Lamar Jackson, up to 3 people with Ingram. And if Gus Edwards gets a sniff and people, he's one big game a season where he scores double-digit points and everyone goes crazy about Gus Edwards. No, I think he'll learn from Ingram. He'll split some shares, and as the bear says, towards the end of the season, he might be taking a higher snap count than Ingram. But that Ravens team, for me, fantasy-wise, there's only one name you're taking off the board, and it isn't J.K. Dobbins. For me, I wouldn't touch him in any drafts, personally, unless you're in Dynasty this year. I just don't see the value of that pick, even in a late round.
Now, the bonus here is Mark Ingram is 30 years old, and it's a pretty rough position to play running back. Should anything happen to the 30-year-old man having to run into defensive lines for a living, for someone who's going in the 9th round, J.K. Dobbins all of a sudden is a lock-in to be a top 10 running back, right?
Yes. Not top 10 lock-in, top 15, I'd argue with. But I agree with you, his age is a concern. And look, he still played 15 games and logged 202 attempts. He's not getting any younger, and I think he knows that. I think they probably had the conversation of when they were drafting Dobbins of saying to him, we are going to draft a running back pretty early. We want him to take over from you.
Yeah.
He's an experienced pro and he knows the situation.
I think this is a real farewell tour, almost like Eli had last year with Danny Dimes taking over. I think this is going to be one of those cases of we'll give you one last run around the block, and then you're free to go and explore other opportunities should you choose.
I think he is the oldest running back who played, apart from Shady and Frank Gore.
I was going to say, Frank
Adrian
Gore's
Peterson.
about 73.
Yeah. But, I mean, he's put the numbers for years, Ingram has. And if you were going to play fantasy, you'd probably take Ingram first, because those first few weeks are vital to get on a roll.
Who does Frank Gore play for?
Buffalo Bills?
Buffalo.
Or has he moved in the offseason, or has he re-signed?
He must have moved to the Bucks, though, right? Because that's where all the pensioners go.
Ooh,
no, it's fine. We got Shady. We got Shady the other day. That's our pensioner running back coming in.
That's the pensioner.
It's pretty old. I mean, you've got a lot of experience.
There we go.
To be honest, I really like Dobbins as a player, and I was a bit surprised the Ravens took him.
Again, though, if you're in Dynasty, let's have him. But outside of that,
great
I
value
think
there.
he just
Great value
about
there.
has standalone value as a flex this year, but you're probably not expecting too much.
But I think I'm with there on Tom on the Ravens. I think there are better potential rookies out there that you can take advantage of. Guess what? Moving on to one of those that I think there's great potential, DeAndre Swift moving to Detroit. Now, he is competing against Kerryon Johnson for the number 1 role in Detroit. But has Kerryon Johnson really done that much?
He has. He stayed on the sick bed for a lot of games.
Yes.
Brilliant IR player.
Now, I don't think I can even say this. Let's just say he did a grade 1 knee strain and tore a meniscus. Don't even know what that. Yeah, thank you. There we go. So he's only played 18 games in 2 seasons. It's not great. He's only just done over 1,000 yards in both. I feel like Swift is going to come in and swiftly take over.
Oof.
Oh,
see what you did there.
I'm going to temper your expectations here because I have little to no hope for Swift and there's no way I'm drafting him. Here's a fun fact for you. Since drafting Matt Stafford in 2009, the Lions haven't ranked inside the top half of the league for rushing attempts per game in any season.
Wow. Since 2009.
Yeah.
I mean, they had arguably the greatest running back of all time. Walter Payton and Barry Sanders is a good debate. But since Barry Sanders, the Lions haven't had that good a rusher. I can't see
do you know who
Patricia changing that.
Do you know who the last running back was to breach the 1,000-yard mark in Detroit?
Garrett Blunt?
Reggie Bush in 2013. They've not had someone rush for over 1,000 yards since 2013.
Do you know what also adds to all this fuel is, DeAndre Swift has actually come out and said that Detroit Lions have said to him, we don't exactly know how we're going to play you. Openly admit that. Mini camps aren't available once again, but he knows he'll be in the backfield. So, at least he'll know sort of where to stand. How they'll use him is anyone's guess. So are you guys... Rich, you've already said you're not looking at him at all during the draft. Tom, you even keeping an eye on him? Late pick?
No.
Thing is, I've seen him go though.
His name, I'd be on him with Swift, as you've made the great pun.
Yeah.
But he's just in Detroit, and that's where hopes and dreams go to die.
Exactly. If he was, I would almost say any other team. If he was in almost any other team, I'd be on him because he was my favourite running back in the draft. I must have fired off about 1 billion tweets asking the Bucks to trade up to pick him up at the end of the first. I was convinced he was going to be going somewhere in the first round, but he has gone to the career graveyard that is the Detroit Lions.
I think the issue is, and my sources inside the NFL are apparently worried about, and this is one of the reasons they moved the COVID opt-out deadline up, which we'll talk about maybe at the end or something. Matt Stafford, his wife's not too well. He's just had a young baby. There are serious rumours he may be the biggest name to opt out, which if he did, not just DeAndre Swift gets out, but the whole Detroit Lions in fantasy just becomes a graveyard.
Who's their backup?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to say Chase Daniel. Might be completely wrong.
He played last year, didn't he? Because Stafford broke his back. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But if that does happen, he seemed to favour Marvin Jones a little bit. So that's a little good thing to know.
Good little hints there. So, I mean, not much more to say on DeAndre Swift. To be honest, if he's there late and you want to take that risk on the career graveyard of Detroit, be our guest. But I don't think any of us are looking for him. So we will move on. Chase Daniels, well done.
God, I'm good off the top
of
the
top of your head. Well done.
Tommy.
Look at that.
I just checked it. I was really worried. I was like, please don't call me out, Detroit Lions.
Right,
I imagine the 2 or 3 tweets you would have got telling you were wrong.
Anyway, looking at someone who potentially has got fantastic potential is a running back called Cam Akers. Now, he's going to the Rams. Todd Gurley has moved on. Are we going to see huge numbers coming from him? Okay, so let me put my enthusiasm behind this, and obviously as I'm the only one here. So, Gurley put up touches 343, 315, and 254 times in the last 3 seasons. Right? Now he's gone, there are 254 vacated touches left open.
I have
Let's say
223. Why are my numbers wrong? Sorry, carry on.
So if Cam Akers comes into that, even takes 3/4, 50%, and they just put him in and just drive him like they did with Gurley, just really work him over, he's going to just produce numbers. Even if he doesn't get many touchdowns, just the yardage alone is going to get you some points. And I think, once again, we're talking about rookies who people aren't going to possibly pick up in the, sub 10 rounds. If you can pick him up 10, 11, 12, I think that's great value.
I don't think he'll fall 10 or 11th. I've seen him going 7th, 8th.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Wow, I haven't seen that yet.
Falling into the 9th, and I have seen him climb into the 6th, because he's a good flex. If you've, done strong wide receivers early, picked up a premium tight end and a quarterback, you're looking for that flex option in PPR. I've seen him go 6th, 7th, and that's
he's able to. He's got a passing catch as well. Like in last season, he's 30 receiving yards, 30 receiving catches. 225 yards as well. So in my mind, he's up there with CEH in terms of pass and catch.
Now, I think in order to be confident that Cam Akers is going to be a good asset for your team, you have to be a fortune teller. Because much like we were slightly concerned about the Damian Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation,
yes,
we don't really know just how much someone like Darrell Henderson, or maybe even Malcolm Brown, I'm not sure, how much one of those two is going to be involved. And you're right, over 200 carries were vacated by Gurley last year, and by all accounts, those are bell cow numbers. But if they split it even 70-30, all of a sudden you're down 170 touches, whatever. And that is concerning. That, and the Rams don't actually rush that much. They're a very pass-heavy team. They had the 6th fewest rushing attempts last year.
Yeah, you've got Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee. You're going to pass it. Josh Reynolds is up and coming. I honestly think their O-line isn't that strong anymore. They've had to get rid of a lot of talent on the defensive line. So they're going to be playing from, I'd say, negative game scripts. And you looked at them last year. They were getting turned over by teams. They're having to pass it, as we saw them in London. They're having to pass. Did you see Gurley actually break through effort?
No.
The O-line wasn't creating the separation. But you've got such good receivers, you're going to pass it. And that's, as you pointed out, Zebra, yes, he's proven he can catch 30. But that's not near Edwards-Helaire's catching level. I'm not looking at him maybe get some third down plays and use Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown as the early grinders. And I think, yeah, he'll be lucky if he gets 40% snap share in the first few games.
What I think might save him for fantasy this year is I think he's going to have a lot of red zone value. He's a proven player to be great at breaking the tackle. And I think if they're at a, 3rd and goal situation from 4 yards out, or 2nd and goal, I don't see any reason they don't just give him 2 attempts just to smash that ball into the end zone every time.
See what he can do.
And I think from that, I can see him getting up to about 10 touchdowns on the ground next year, which is pretty good.
He's
for
a chunky unit. I don't know if that's a technical term. Look, he's 5'10", coming in at 217 pounds as his draft profile.
He's no Jonathan Taylor though. We're just saying, like, he's no unit like Jonathan Taylor.
No, but sometimes being smaller, having that lower center of gravity, and say he builds up a bit, he really works on his burst, explosive potential. I think the Bears got a point as.
I mean, that's the selling factor of CEH, isn't it? Is that he's not the tallest, but actually breaking tackles, as you say. So maybe it's another opportunity like CEH. Get the red zone, get points that way.
Screens, get it to him in the open backfield. Try and set some stuff on that. Yeah. Look, problem is there's no preseason games, which in one sense is good. We've discussed. I'm just worried the committee there is stronger than a lot of other teams. And that's why he's falling. I think that's the only reason he's falling. If there wasn't Malcolm Brown and Henderson there, and it was a situation like CEH, he'd probably be in the top 4 rounds.
Do you think he will do better or worse than J.K. Dobbins this year?
Better. I think better. I think he's got the bigger opportunity. I think the Ravens at the moment, you're talking about, other people taking those touches, then just Jackson alone I'd be worried about, let alone adding in, Ingram.
Yeah, I think he does better than Dobbins in fantasy. Half one, yes. Half two, I think Dobbins closes the gap.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at his touchdowns last year for Florida State. 14 rushing touchdowns. That's pretty big numbers.
It's not
So
bad.
it's obvious. Yes, it's pretty good
You see
considering
quite a lot
Florida
of college
State's a
running
tough
backs, well,
conference.
not quite a lot, but your elite college running backs seem to end up with about 20 on the year, don't they? So 14 is a pretty good show.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't
18 overall in
the
scrimmage.
best team ever. And I think, to be honest, will he end up J.K. Dobbins? I think he'll be slightly better than that. But again, we don't know. I say Henderson stats going off. That's the risk.
Yeah.
Right. Good point then to aim for if you're looking for him. We're saying 6 is early, 7, 8, 9 kind of where if you want him, that's where you should be aiming for.